All right, check the mic. We're live. Instant reaction time. Thursday night football. Baltimore Ravens 28. Dolphins 6. It was a beatdown. Ravens looked like the old Ravens. All the stuff was there, Sam. But kind of a slow start. Some mistakes early from the Dolphins. If they were going to compete, probably couldn't make the mistakes that they made early. False start. Killed them on a fourth down and early fumble. But, Ravens kind of look like the Ravens again.
Yeah, I mean, the Ravens look good. Man, it was like the first half, Miami were competitive. I mean, honestly, they could and maybe should have been ahead if they hadn't been shooting themselves in the foot and maybe getting some rough calls from the officials as well. They had 225 yards at the half or something like that. Ended up with only 332 in total. But in the second half, they just basically brought nothing to the table. The Ravens ran away with it. And fairly early in the second half, it was like Miami's tapped out at this point. Like they've given up.
And I was giving them credit for early on. I think they carried over some of the run defense, the energy in the front seven. I thought they did a nice job. The Ravens didn't lean into Lamar Jackson as a runner in this game. We were wondering, will they, try to save him a little bit or, keep him safe from the hamstring, getting injured again. But I thought the Dolphins did a pretty good job of crowding the box, stopping the run, playing with fire, some energy. Like, honestly, for about 6 straight quarters between last week and the first half, I was pretty impressed with how hard they played. But, the standard was pretty low for what Miami put on tape the first 7 weeks of the season.
It was, but you're right. Like the second half of this game, I think, was the first time where it looked like they had given up. Like, I mean, this has been kind of the remarkable thing this season. They've been bad for most of the year, but they had seemed to be fighting hard, playing hard the whole way. Everyone's going to focus on, do you fire Mike McDaniel? One of the things in his favor is that this team had not seemed to have given up on him. They were fighting hard. They were still playing for him. That kind of evaporated in the second half of this game. Like, it really unspooled quickly in the second half tonight.
Yeah, it did. And the penalty you're talking about, the Ollie Gordon tripping call.
Yeah.
I mean, he's the one who tripped. They got called for tripping.
He fell over. The guy didn't even get tripped over him. He just kind of jumped over him and carried on. And they called it a personal foul. Look, when the guy, whoever this was, Terry McCauley, like the rules official is like, that's flat out wrong. I mean, they don't say that. They tend to couch those opinions very well. I can see what they're looking at. I might have gone in a different direction. He was like, that's just wrong. That's not a foul.
Yeah, that was the most mad. Is that the most mad? Do you see McDaniel on that? Mike McDaniel? That was the most mad I've ever seen.
Between that and the fourth down false start earlier, McDaniel was losing his mind in this game.
Now, same old thing. I don't know with the fourth down false start, they lined up to go forward on 4th and 1, deep in Ravens territory. They get called for a Larry Borum false start. And I don't know if he's yelling about Borum or if he was yelling about Van Noy maybe jumping into the neutral zone. That's one of those, I think I hate to jump to conclusions like who he's mad at, but that's the most fired up I've ever seen Mike McDaniel. The Ollie Gordon one, he was fired up too. And then the other coach was yelling at Ollie, and it's like, dude, that was not his fight. Maybe he didn't see it at that point. It was not on him, man. That was a bad call. But McDaniel was fired up. I don't know if it was at the players or at the fact that maybe they had missed a neutral zone infraction.
Yeah, I mean, he was mad, whatever. It doesn't really matter who he was mad at, but he was pissed in that game.
That was the most fire I've seen from him. I guess as far as just straight up anger,
There were multiple. I mean, there were big. Like I said, they had 200 and something yards in the first half. They were moving the ball at will, and they kept getting themselves into these fourth down, but like 4th and 6 because they false start on 4th and 1. Suddenly 4th and 6. It's like, you don't love that as a go for it situation. If it was 4th and 1, 4th and 2, sure. 4th and 6 is getting a little more difficult. And they had a couple of those and kept having to punt the ball away. Did it again.
Oh, we've been on the wrong side this whole time. Something felt off. Something's off. I mean, something's off with my entire screen here, but we're gonna play through it. We got this. And then from a Ravens perspective, I started the show by saying the Ravens look like the Ravens. I mean, just the stat lines. I know the Dolphins did a nice job early against the run. Derrick Henry gets the big runs late in the second half, 19 for 119 on the ground for Derrick Henry. Lamar Jackson has one of his classic games, 5 incompletions, 4 touchdown passes. He looked back. by the way, he's sneakily like 4th in the league or tied for maybe 6th or 7th in passing touchdowns now. Like he's missed half the season and he's up to 14 touchdowns, 18 of 23 for 204 with 4 touchdowns. That big turning point was when they went for it on 4th down. The Ravens, again, the Dolphins were playing hard, making stops. 4th down goal line decision by the Ravens. They get a touchdown to one of their tight ends early to get the ball to Mark Andrews. They found Andrews later for another one, Charlie Kohler for the one that pretty much sealed the deal. And then Rashad Bateman also with a touchdown in there as well. So Lamar, I thought he threw the ball well and looked back as far as the passing game goes.
Yeah, he did. And, the Ravens had kind of let Miami hang around for a bit. Like they hadn't really stamped their authority in the game in the first half. They looked pretty good, but they hadn't, they were giving up territory to Miami. At one point they were, they punted rather on a 4th down when, the Ben Baldwin bot was like a strong go for it. It was the one where Derrick Henry got tackled by Rasul Douglas on a 3rd and 1. They tried to run lateral, tried to run outside, pick it up. Douglas made an amazing play. Again, another example of they were still playing hard. They hadn't quit. Right. Fantastic play to stop them on 3rd and 1 from like just their own side of the halfway, I think. They then punted it away on 4th and 1, like a strong go for it situation most of the time. And you're like, this is the type of thing that could come back to haunt. And then again, start of the second half, they went, scored, Miami didn't, and it's basically just all she wrote at that point.
The punts that you're talking about, that's the one I always think coaches, like the 3rd down play really dictates the decision, right? The spreadsheet is agnostic of the 3rd down call. That's one of those, if it was like 3rd and 11 and then you picked up 10 to get to 4th and 1, you're like, yeah, go, we just picked up 10. But if you go 3rd and 1, you get stopped in the run game, it's like, oh, now we're more likely to punt. I thought it's just interesting, I think, how those decisions sometimes, I think, influence coaches. But Ravens defense still, not still, but like on the mend, I would say, certainly compared to earlier this year, even that looks different. I wouldn't say they're necessarily dominant, as you said, like the Dolphins were moving the ball. And then, by the way, that whole sequence of false start, they were going to go for it, false start, they kick a field goal. Well, they missed the field goal as well. I mean, everything was bad in that sequence. But I still think Baltimore looks far better than they were earlier this year. Plus, forcing turnovers, forcing fumbles, look much better than they did 3-4 weeks ago.
Yeah, it's tough because you're right. Like it's not like they stopped them. I mean, they gave up a lot of yards, and the turnovers. Like you have 2 fumbles from Washington, and then you have Tua just throwing a prayer up late in the game. It's like, the fumbles are bad, but they weren't even necessarily, precision peanut punching. We're going to force these turnovers. They were just like tackling hard, and Washington put the ball on the ground a couple of times. That dude also got his head ripped off twice in the game, at least as well. Like some pretty iffy tackling on Malik Washington there. But anyway, so it does look better, definitely. Like it's certainly moving in the right direction. I would be hesitant to say it's like all the way back. But the big variable has been, the deployment of Kyle Hamilton since earlier in the season. Like they've moved him to a full-on joker role at the line of scrimmage. Just do whatever you want. Just go and wreck the play. I don't even care where you line up. That's kind of what he's playing right now. And it's working. I mean, he's an absolute animal in there. He's really good on the back end as well, but he's so much more impactful the closer you put him to the line of scrimmage. That's, I think, having a huge impact.
Yeah, I mean, the joke that we were talking about the Ravens, you either add a ping pong table or subtract a ping pong table. That's how you turn your season around, which, by the way, seems to be working. The other levers that you could pull are the Kyle Hamilton position change, right? Just like last year, you just change his position. Doesn't matter. It could be the opposite of last year. Doesn't matter. Just change Kyle Hamilton's position. The other thing we forgot to mention, too, if you really want to turn your season around, you coordinator switch, right? You go from the booth to the field to the booth. Those are the other. There's only so many levers you could pull. And the Ravens have pulled 2 of them with the ping pong table and the Kyle Hamilton position switch. If they slip up again, Todd Monken's going to be on the sideline calling plays. It's the only other thing they can do. Or Zach Orr's got to go to the booth.
The ping pong table thing, apparently that was all Lamar. It was his decision. He told him, take it away.
That's good. He's a leader, man. I think it's funny because we're in this world. I keep saying, like, you could pull any stats and just paint whatever picture you want. If you just looked at Lamar Jackson's stat line this year, I think he's 14-1 touchdowns and interceptions. Passer rating's up around like 135 or something right now. I'm serious. Like, did you know that after just watching football this year?
I knew his numbers were very good, but it's
Yeah.
because like the problems that had manifested in the last couple of games were not like there weren't turnovers, there were sacks.
So my point in all this is there's obviously some good there, but yeah, the sacks, that looks better tonight, at least against, one sack against Miami instead of the games where he had 7. The Chiefs were getting to him. But Lamar Jackson still, like, the underlying efficiency, throwing the ball down the field, creating big plays is still there. If they continue to cut down on the sacks, ease him back in as far as the run game goes, okay, it's the same Ravens, I think, for the most part, that we expected, with even the defense, even with the improvements on defense, maybe not as good as we expected. But yeah, they're going to be competitive and a tough team to beat every week now.
Like, I think that part has been answered. Like, Lamar came back and looked like he was seeing the game again. He was putting the ball in the air. He wasn't dithering. He wasn't taking crazy sacks. He wasn't sort of flustered in the pocket the way that he had been the last couple of games before he went out. So I think that part we've already got the answer to, that, the time away, the time as a guy with a hamstring injury, it reset him. Like, he was just in a bad way against two good teams, two good defenses, and struggled. And now he's back to being, an MVP caliber player in any given week. And that immediately turns the Ravens not just into into legit competition, but I mean, they're clear favorites of the division now, even though they're still a game back. Like, they've gone from this is a 1-win football team and right up against it to 2 games later, they're now like clear favorites of that division. They're a game and a half back, and they play the team ahead of them twice, and they play the team tied with them twice. And they have one of the easiest schedules in the NFL, and they have the best quarterback of that group. So, I mean, they're clear favorites of the division.
Yeah, we'll keep repeating it, but their schedule now: Dolphins win 28-6 tonight, at Minnesota next week, at Cleveland for their rematch, and then the Jets over the next 3 weeks before they play the Bengals, who, as you said, now technically tied in the division. So yeah, everything's ahead of Baltimore to still potentially win the division, get into the playoffs, maybe with a lower seed than they hoped, but get in as a top 4 seed, and then
but still hosting a game.
Yeah, of course. Who knows? Then you're facing Colts, Chiefs in round 2, whatever it may be. So yeah, everything's ahead of Baltimore as long as they don't slip up too much, and the defense continues to improve. As far as Miami, yeah, it's just, look, they had a nice win last week against Atlanta. Could they? It didn't turn their season around all the way, right? I liked how they played in the first half, mistakes and some bad luck, and then the second half, as you said, looked like the rest of the year and wasn't great.
I mean, it really just shows how confusing Atlanta is as a team. Like, what on earth were they doing losing to this Miami Dolphins football team based off certainly the second half of this game? Like, I mean, the first half showed they're still dangerous. They can still move the ball. Devon Achane is fantastic. Jalen Waddle is still really good. Like, they've got players that can do damage, but they've got such a glass chin. Like, if you give them one solid punch, like that second half, it was amazing how quickly even Kirk Herbstreit called it. He was like, we are seconds away from this being 28-6, and immediately like bomb to Zay Flowers, almost got in, and then they got it again like a couple of minutes. You're like, they are so fragile.
They also, it is tough when you're trying to pull the upset. You're over a touchdown underdog. You're having a tough season against a good Ravens team, despite their record, and every little thing is also going against them. And then you have, diving catch by Devon Achane. Is that when you were texting me? Like, they just ball squirted out just a little, touched the ground. Like, looked like a great catch, and even that gets overturned.
It's another one where it manufactured by replay. Like, he caught the ball. It moved, sure, but he caught it at no point. Like, run that through at full speed. Nobody thought he didn't catch the ball. But it's like, no, we're going to take a look at it on super slow-mo and see that it moved. And then, of course, it moved. He fell on it. He's running at 20 miles an hour, leaping through the air to catch the ball, and then lands on it. Of course it moved. Like, that doesn't mean he lost control.
It was already a 2 or 3 score game, whatever it was at that point. So again, I'm not saying that changes the outcome. It's just like, if you're if you're Miami, not only are you a worse team, but every little break seems to be going against you. And then before you know it, okay, it's 28-6 and this thing's over.
Right. I mean, the second half was already done. Like the first half was, I mean, McDaniel said it in his, pointless coach interview. He's like, you can't play two teams, right? Can't play the opposition and yourself. You've got to at least make sure you're doing your part. And that was the point. It's like they had mistakes. They got screwed by the officials. Everything was going against them.
All right, man. 28-6, Ravens get the win. Seemingly back on track here. Dolphins falling to 2-7. We'll see what happens. Not a great season there. And with the expected overhaul at some point, either coaching staff, front office, has been great in Miami this year. But keep an eye on Baltimore going forward. Appreciate everybody being here. Memberships, subscriptions, thumbs up, do all the things. See you Sunday, instant reaction after the 4 o'clocks.